I'm joined now by Atholl Johnsont, who's a Professor of Clinical Pharmacology at Queen Mary University of London, and Holli Rubin, who's a psychotherapist specialising in body image. Welcome to both of you. Holli Rubin, this is such a tragic case. Just how unusual is it for people to take pills when they don't necessarily know what the risks of them are?
Unfortunately, it's not so unusual. However, it's just a very tragic case, and as a parent, my heart goes out to Eloise's mum. But unfortunately, the pressure to have a certain body type and to fit into a certain mold is so extreme and so intense right now for adolescents and for people in general, so it's difficult.
Well, yes, and Atholl Johnsont, tell us a little bit about this drug, DNP. What exactly is it?
Well, people keep calling it a drug, but it isn't. It's an industrial chemical. Originally, it was used as an explosive in the First World War, and in fact, even at that stage, it was killing people. It was reckoned that 16 people died for every 10,000 tons of this material that was made. In the about 1930s, it was discovered that it uncoupled the use of energy in the body, so your energy goes to waste and therefore burns fat. And it was released as a drug for about 5 or 6 years until they discovered that the major problems with it, killing people, but also causing cataracts, even when it was used safely. So it was banned.
And that was some time ago, wasn't it? Wasn't that in the
1937, yes, it was banned in the States.
And it's still banned for human consumption in this country, but you can still get hold of it, can't you?
Well, it's an industrial chemical. It's used for a lot of things, so it's not difficult to get hold of. I think Eloise's mother has it exactly right. You can't stop its availability because we can get it from on the internet. We can buy it in places that you just can't stop it being available. But what you can do is tell people the risks.
And Holli Rubin, that's half the problem, isn't it? Presumably, the fact that it's accessible, and these days, so many things are within people's reach because of the internet.
Exactly, and I think the internet itself, just what we see and what we are constantly bombarded with, it's very difficult for people to gauge what's acceptable and what's not, what's real and what's not.
So give us an idea of what's going on in someone's head that makes them want to take a pill that's not been prescribed by their doctor.
There could be so many things, but what's certainly there is this drive to lose weight, and this drive to ascertain a certain image to fit in with what's believed to be the perfect image, which doesn't really exist at the end of the day, does it?
Well, no, and has that got worse? I mean, are we worse now than we were in any other generation? Everyone's wanted to look like their peers or look better than their peers. Surely that's always been there. Why is it so much worse now then?
It certainly has always been there, but I think what's happening now is because of the way that we are exposed to technology and the images that we are seeing so regularly. We're constantly being fed information which is not even real, which these images which are being photoshopped, so people seeing what is not truly there is driving this need.
And Atholl Johnsont, presumably the importance is to communicate, as we were saying, the risks of some of these chemicals. How do you go about doing that, and how difficult is it for doctors as well to pick up on this when, as one doctor that we heard in the report there, suggested it's impossible to know whether or not someone's taking these pills?
Well, that's the problem. Unless your patient tells you what they're taking, you don't know. Or maybe they're not even your patient because you haven't seen them recently and they're taking these. So the programs like this are exactly what's needed. It needs to be publicized that there are problems of taking things if you're buying them off the internet and you don't know what you're taking or what dose to take, because that seems to be the major problem here.
And what about for doctors themselves? We know that in this case, Eloise took herself to A&E, but it was at such a stage that the doctors couldn't do anything when she got there. It was impossible to reverse the damage that was being done. Are doctors fully aware of how to approach this kind of issue?
Well, they just with this drug, it's just not treatable. With the amount that she took, it was just not possible to save her, unfortunately, because she'd poisoned her system, and there is no antidote.
So, Holli Rubin, how do you go about addressing this issue in people, young and old, whether they're teenagers trying to lose weight, whether they're middle-aged men trying to become bodybuilders? How do you go about tackling it?
Awareness, again, programs like these, education, the importance of challenging these ideals and challenging these body ideals and getting people to feel more comfortable in who they are, and the acceptance on body diversity and being able to change what we're seeing so that we can feel more accepted in what we appear.